Heartwarming moment. Calm woman in 12B revealed as incredible pilot, transforming chaos to hope. The plane bucked violently, like a horse trying to shake off a rider gone rogue. Gasps filled the cabin of Southwest Airlines Flight 232 as nervous passengers clutched their armrests, wide-eyed with fear. But in seat 12B, Sarah, a hard-working woman in her late 30s, felt a rush of adrenaline stir within her. Memories of the diner her parents owned flashed through her mind. The smell of fresh coffee, the chatter of regulars swapping stories, community. It had always been about lending a helping hand. Today, she would need those values more than ever. As the aircraft rattled and dipped, the captain's voice cut through the panic. "We're experiencing a significant malfunction." Heart racing, Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, steadying herself. She remembered her own journey breaking barriers as a female pilot in a traditionally male-dominated field. Her parents had taught her grit, and now it was time to draw on that strength. Tensions surged through the aisles. Tears trickled down the cheeks of a little boy clinging to his mother. Sarah's heart ached. The boy's wide, terrified eyes mirrored her own fears from just moments ago, but she wouldn't let it paralyze her. She took a deep breath and turned to them, her voice steady. "It's going to be okay. Just breathe with me." Their eyes met, and for the first time, the boy's grip on his mother loosened. As the turbulence roared, Sarah shifted from being an anxious passenger to an unwavering anchor for those around her. She moved through the aisle, whispering reassurance to those in distress, using soft tones that felt like a warm embrace. "We're all in this together," she promised, her eyes catching those of a man who had earlier cast doubt on her unremarkable appearance. "I can help." Suddenly, a man beside her rose, pulling away from his panic. "Wait, you're a pilot?" The words hung between them, thick with disbelief. As she revealed her qualifications, the atmosphere crackled with newfound respect, an unspoken acknowledgement of strength shaping their chaotic reality. Sarah radiated calm, grounding everyone around her while the plane thrashed like a ship in a storm. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. With the cabin humming with whispered stories, they shared dreams and fears, creating unbreakable bonds amidst the chaos. But judgment still lurked, warring beneath the surface like the turbulence outside. The man who doubted her began to recognize the strength Sarah carried, and it stirred something deep within him. Redemption, transformation, the beginning of a renewed understanding. Finally, the thuds of wheels touched solid ground, and a collective sigh of relief cascaded through the cabin. Yet, as Sarah stepped off the aircraft, life's weight felt different. Conversations unfolded about personal connections forged in that chaos, and she wondered, could the changes felt in those short moments last beyond the flight? As they exited, paths diverging, a poignant truth surfaced sometimes. The greatest lessons emerge from the most turbulent skies, leaving them yearning for something deeper in the journey ahead. The airport terminal buzzed with life, a stark contrast to the harrowing experience just moments before. Sarah stepped into the atrium, the bright lights flickering against the muted colors of the morning. She could hear laughter, snippets of joyful reunion, and the gentle beeping of luggage carts. Yet, she felt a heaviness in her chest that wouldn't fade. People hurried past her, some glancing at her with recognition, others oblivious to the monumental shift that had just taken place in the sky above them. It was surreal how quickly life moved on, how the world around still pulsed with energy, while she remained rooted, grappling with the emotions that bubbled just beneath the surface. "Is everyone okay?" A voice echoed through the terminal, drawing Sarah's attention. She turned to find the little boy and his mother struggling to balance their carry-on bags and a half-eaten granola bar. The boy's eyes shone with a mix of wonder and relief as he spotted her. Sarah knelt down, a comforting smile breaking through the haze of her own thoughts. "You did so well back there," she said, resting a hand on his tiny shoulder. The boy beamed up at her, a spark of hope glimmering in those fearful eyes. "Thank you for helping us," the mother said, her voice thick with gratitude. "I didn't know how I would have gotten through that without you." The connection struck a chord deep within Sarah. Here was proof that even in the most terrifying moments, one person could pull a thread of strength that stitched a community together. "You're stronger than you know," she replied, her heart swelling with pride for their bravery. She turned to leave, but the boy tugged at her sleeve. "Are you going to fly again?" he asked, eyes wide with hope. She hesitated for a heartbeat, then nodded. "Absolutely. I love flying." The boy smiled, and in that moment, she made a silent promise to herself. She would not only return to the skies, but would carry this experience with her not as a burden, but as a badge of honor. As she made her way through the terminal, Sarah caught snippets of conversations echoing the words that had helped her anchor herself in the chaos. "It's going to be okay. We're in this together." Instead of urgency, there was a profound connection weaving through the crowd, vibrant threads pulsing with compassion. Yet, amid those tender moments, Sarah's mind drifted back to the man who had doubted her. His face had softened, the flicker of understanding evident in his eyes. She felt the weight of their shared experience, a potent reminder of how quickly perceptions could shift. What if he sought her out? What if he wanted to understand how someone like her could navigate a storm like that? Suddenly, her phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a message from a group chat filled with her pilot colleagues. They were gathering later that evening, a tradition where they shared stories over a drink. It felt like a perfect opportunity not only to reconnect, but also to share her unexpected experience. With a renewed sense of purpose, Sarah decided to join them. As she walked toward the exit, the excitement of the evening ahead invigorated her spirit. But as she glanced back at the terminal, her heart skipped a beat. A familiar figure stood in the distance, the man from the plane. He was moving toward her, uncertainty etched on his face. What could he possibly want? The weight of the past and an unknown future collided within her. In that moment, Sarah knew things were about to change once again. The man took deliberate steps towards her, and Sarah felt every heartbeat echoing inside her chest. His eyes were searching, perhaps for something, an answer, an explanation, or maybe even an apology. She hadn't expected to see him again, not here, not now. There was a strange comfort in recognizing the person who had once doubted her, but it was coupled with a thrill of apprehension. "Hey," he said gently, his voice cutting through the terminal's vibrant noise. "Can we talk?" The sincerity in his tone anchored her momentarily. "Sure," Sarah replied, her voice steady even as her heart raced. They stepped aside to a quieter corner, away from the bustling crowds and joyful encounters. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry," he began, looking down for a moment, as if the weight of his words pressed against him. "I doubted you, and I should have known better. You handled everything with so much strength." She studied him, a man who had once questioned her capabilities, now standing before her with humility. "Thank you," she said, choosing her words carefully. "It was a chaotic moment, and I'm glad we made it through." He met her gaze, and she could see his eyes reflect the flickering emotions that danced beneath the surface. "I've been a pilot longer than I can remember," he confessed. "I've been through all kinds of situations, but I never thought I'd meet someone in a crisis who could keep so many people calm." The compliment ignited a spark of pride within her. "I just did what needed to be done," she replied. "It was all of us together, really. That little boy, his mom, everyone played a part." With a slow, almost contemplative nod, he absorbed her words. Sarah could see that he was a man changed by the experience, much like the boy and his mother. It dawned on her how these moments of crisis could ignite understanding and humanity among strangers. "I'd love to hear more about your perspective," he continued, eyes brimming with sincerity. "Maybe we could grab a coffee? It's not every day you meet someone who, as you joke back there, turns a chaotic flight into a story of hope." That was an unexpected twist. Would she be willing to sit and talk with him, learn more about his journey, his doubts? A part of her hesitated, reminding her of their past, but the other part, stronger and now more grounded, reached for connection. "All right, let us do that," she said, surprising herself. His face relaxed, the earlier tension evaporating into a flicker of relief. As they walked side by side toward the airport cafe, Sarah felt an awakening within her. The heaviness that had clung to her since the ordeal now lightened. She found herself reflecting not just on the crisis, but how it had changed perceptions and relationships instantaneously. The morning light poured into the terminal as they entered the cafe, and the buzz of laughter and conversation surrounded them. Perhaps it was the honest chatter over coffee that would unite two once strangers forever changed by fear and bravery. She looked at him, curiosity softening her heart. But just as they settled in, a loud announcement rang out, echoing through the cafe. "Attention, all passengers. We have an unexpected flight delay." The air thickened with uncertainty as Sarah and the man exchanged glances, a mix of concern and intrigue passing between them. What unexpected news awaited them now? As they leaned closer to discuss their next steps, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a deeper journey, one that might reshape not only her understanding of courage, but of connection itself. The announcement hung in the air, its implications settling like a dense fog around them. Sarah could sense her pulse quickening again, not just from the surprise of seeing him, but from the reality of what lay ahead. A flight delay could mean complications, and she wasn't sure she was ready to navigate those yet. "Do you know how long the delay is?" he asked, shifting his gaze toward the counter, where a flustered barista juggled orders. "I'm not sure. Hopefully, it won't be too bad." Her voice was steadier than she felt, but a part of her, maybe even the braver part, welcomed the chance to linger in this moment longer, to understand him more fully. They had both emerged from the storm, and this felt like a new beginning. "Can I get you something to drink first? Coffee? Maybe a pastry?" he offered, his tone suggesting he wanted to make this situation less tense. "Coffee sounds great," she said, surprising even herself with how easy it was to engage with him. "I'll take an espresso, extra shot if they've got it." He smiled, and for a moment it felt like the chaos outside melted away. "You got it. I'll be right back." As he turned, she watched him go, a strange mix of nostalgia and curiosity washing over her. While he waited in line, she took a deep breath and glanced around the cafe. The chatter of other passengers buzzed in the background, laughter sliced through the tension, and the comforting scent of brewed coffee wafted through the air. She let her gaze wander back to the window, where the planes were lined up, engines idle. Moments turned into minutes, and just as she started to feel the uncertainty creep back in, he returned with 2 steaming cups in hand and a croissant perched delicately on a napkin. "Here you go, 1 espresso extra shot, just like you asked," he said, placing the cup in front of her. The way their hands brushed brought an unexpected spark, sending a shiver of warmth through her. "Thanks. This is great." She sipped, the rich flavor igniting her senses. It took them both a few seconds to settle into their seats, and then the weight of unspoken words loomed between them. This was a moment of reckoning, filled with the potential for vulnerability and understanding. "So, tell me about your journey," he urged softly. "You're clearly someone who has been through a lot lately. I can't imagine what that must have been like for you." Sarah looked into his eyes, searching for a sliver of the man who had once doubted her. "It's been a whirlwind, honestly. I didn't think I was capable of staying calm or being a leader in a crisis, but somehow I found myself in that role. It was surreal." His gaze deepened, filled with empathy. "You showed strength when it mattered most." "Maybe," she replied with a shrug. "But your response during the flight helped too. You know, when you reassured everyone. It made a difference." He paused, his expression shifting as if piecing together thoughts. "I knew I was being tested, but I didn't realize you were too. It's humbling to see how bravery can shift in unexpected ways. I have a new appreciation for how we all respond in moments of fear." The conversation flowed, and with each exchange, Sarah sensed walls crumbling, hers and his. They explored not just the ordeal but the beautiful complexity of their lives, values, and what they had learned about courage and community. As the chatter beneath them began to mix with the sounds of airport life, the announcement system crackled to life again, this time a calm voice reporting another delay, extending the waiting period. "Looks like we'll have a bit longer," he said, but a smile spread across his face that gave her confidence. "What do you think we should do with this unexpected time?" Sarah met his smile with one of her own, feeling a thrill stutter to life in her chest. She was curious, excited even. "Maybe it's an opportunity to dive deeper. You could tell me about the craziest flight you've ever had," she suggested, her heart racing with a mix of apprehension and the thrill of newfound possibility. His eyes lit up with intrigue. "And maybe you could share what kept you grounded in that chaos," he countered, leaning forward, the space between them buzzing with potential. Just then, the lights flickered, and the cafe's atmosphere shifted, with murmurs traveling through the crowd. As uncertainty gathered once again, Sarah wondered, were they really prepared for what was next, or was this moment simply a prelude to more surprises? The flickering lights settled, but the tension in the air remained electric. Sarah's heart thudded louder, echoing her sense of urgency. She leaned in closer, fascinated by the man across from her. "All right, then," he said, taking a deep breath. "The craziest flight I ever had? It was a stormy night, and we were running low on fuel. The turbulence felt like being on a roller coaster. I was sure people were screaming in the cabin, while I was just focused on flying straight, keeping the plane steady. But what really got to me was the moment when I looked out and saw the lightning dancing around us. It reminded me of being alive, you know? It was terrifying yet beautiful." Wide-eyed, Sarah leaned back in her chair, captivated. "That sounds insane. I can't imagine how you felt in that moment. It's like a scene from a movie." His smile deepened. "Exactly. And as wild as it was, those moments make all the difference. They shape us. But what about you?" he asked, turning the focus back to her, an eagerness lighting his eyes. "What kept you grounded?" Her gaze flickered away as she considered her response thoughtfully. "Honestly, I thought about my sister. She was the anchor in my life. Whenever we faced challenges, she reminded me that it's okay to feel afraid. It's okay to ask for help." The vulnerability surprised even her. His brow furrowed slightly. "It sounds like she has been a huge influence." "She was," Sarah replied softly, a bittersweet smile crossing her lips. "She passed away a year ago." The words caught in her throat, heavy with unresolved grief. It felt strange to share this with him, to open that door, but there was kindness in his presence, making it feel safe. "I'm so sorry," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "That must be so hard." "It is. But I've learned to carry her spirit with me. It's like she is still there, guiding me." They shared a moment of silence, the chaos of the cafe drifting away, replaced by something deeper. The realization that they both had shadows in their pasts lingered in the air, acknowledging each other as pain and strength. Unexpectedly, a loud commotion broke their connection, as a child near the counter spilled a drink all over his parent. Laughter erupted from a few tables, breaking the heavy moment they just shared. "That was close," he said, letting out a chuckle. "Life can be chaotic, huh?" She laughed too, the sound ringing bright and clear. "Yeah, it can. But sometimes it's those messy moments that bring the best stories." As their laughter subsided, another announcement chimed over the speakers, this time a softer tone. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We have confirmed a new takeoff schedule. Please stay tuned for further updates. Looks like we'll be flying soon," he said, though his expression was layered with something more. "But I'm glad this delay happened. It's led to, well, memorable moments." Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of their connection pressing against the tide of life outside the cafe windows. "Me too." As the atmosphere shifted once again, the vibration of anticipation wrapping around them both, Sarah felt something swell inside her, a sense of hope, but also of apprehension. Would they only be able to share this intimate moment before everything changed again? Then she caught the shadow of doubt crossing his features. What if the flight itself is another storm? He asked, a hint of vulnerability breaking through his bravado. The question loomed like the cloud of uncertainty above the airport, and for a second, she didn't know how to respond. But beneath that worry, a thought flickered. What if flying together meant navigating those storms not just alone, but side by side? Pushing past her initial uncertainty, she replied, "Well, if it is, at least we'll know we're not alone in it." His gaze grew intense, and she felt her heart race as a flicker of something electric traveled between them. "What do you mean by that?" he asked. Just as she opened her mouth to answer, the lights flickered again, this time a long pause stretching between them in a thick silence. Were they ready to uncover the truth beneath all they had shared? What awaited them beyond the cafe doors? The lights stabilized, but the brief flicker seemed to hang in the air like an unspoken challenge. Sarah's heartbeat quickened, caught between anticipation and trepidation. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on them, urging her to break the silence. What if she began, her voice barely breaking the tension? "What if we could find a way to turn storms into something beautiful, just like you did up in the sky?" His eyes lit up with newfound curiosity. "You mean like finding meaning in the chaos?" "Exactly," Sarah exclaimed, growing more animated. "We've all got our storms, right? But we also have these moments that guide us through. Like how you saw the lightning and felt alive." She gestured to the window, where rain drizzled against the glass like nature's own artistry. "It's like each droplet tells a story." "I never thought of it that way," he said, his expression softening as he absorbed her words. "It makes the turbulence feel less daunting, like we're part of something bigger. Encouraged, Sarah leaned in further. Maybe that's what connection is all about. Sharing those wild stories, those chaotic moments. They help us not feel so alone. He nodded slowly, his gaze searching hers. You really think we can face our storms together? Even if it's just for this flight? Without hesitating, she voiced the truth that had crystallized in her heart. I don't want to go through life facing storms by myself anymore. I want to learn how to dance in the rain with someone to share those burdens. His smile broadened, warmth flooding the space between them. You're right. Maybe that's the kind of flight we need. For a moment, they simply sat there, enveloped in a bubble of shared understanding, two souls braving the storms of their pasts, daring to find joy in the turbulence that lay ahead. As the cafe buzzed around them, something flashed in her mind. And if we do make it through this, I'd love to hear more of your stories. Maybe I could share mine in return. His face lit with genuine enthusiasm. I'd love that. It sounds like we have a lot to learn from each other. Just then, another thud echoed through the cafe, the sound of luggage being dropped causing both of them to jump slightly. They laughed again, the sound mingling with the chaos around them, marking a small victory against their worries. But just as Sarah was about to speak again, the loudspeaker chirped with news about a sudden weather alert. Quick glances filled the cafe, each person seemingly holding their breath. All right, folks, it looks like another storm is brewing. We suggest you secure your belongings and prepare for possible rough conditions upon takeoff. Her heart raced, swirling within her like a whirlwind. Was this the storm they had been talking about, or was it just the beginning of another story they could face together? Looks like it just got real, he said, half playful, half serious. Yeah, it really did, Sarah replied, her mind racing. What do you think? Can we handle this? His brows knitted slightly, but then he opened his mouth to respond, and the words hung in the air, the very essence of their budding bond trembling in the balance. Before he could finish, an unexpected crash of thunder echoed in the distance outside. But it wasn't he that which startled Sarah, it was the moment of vulnerability between them, so thick she could practically taste it. Whatever it is, she finally said, let us face it together, okay? He met her gaze, a mix of uncertainty and determination brewing beneath the surface. Together, no matter what. As they exchanged glances, Sarah caught a hint of something deeper stirring within him. But before she could explore it, a familiar air of uncertainty crept in again. Sarah, wait. There's something I need to tell you, but before he could find the words, the lights flickered once more, plunging them back into half-darkness, amplifying the tension that had built so beautifully between them, preparing for whatever storm awaited. What truth was he about to reveal? Would it bring them closer, or threaten to tear them apart? The lights flickered again, and Sarah's heart pounded. She felt the weight of his unspoken words pressing against the fragile connection they had formed. What is it? She urged softly, her voice barely audible over the distant rumble of thunder. He hesitated, searching for the right words, while outside the world turned dark and ominous. I've never really opened up to anyone, he started, then paused as if the admission hung heavy on his chest. Take your time, she reassured him, the storm outside echoing the storm within. He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture that only made him more vulnerable. It's just I've been through a lot. You know how we talked about storms? Well, I've had my share. I lost someone important to me, and I've been scared to let anyone in since then. His eyes flickered to the window, watching the raindrops race down the glass. The truth burned in Sarah's heart, drawing her closer to him. I understand. It's tough to carry those burdens alone. I don't want to keep running from this, he said, his voice steadying. Meeting you today, it feels different. You make it seem possible to face my own chaos. I just didn't know how to say it. She could see the struggle in his eyes and felt her own resolve strengthening. You're already sharing it. That is a big step. I want to be here for you, to help you find the beauty in it, even when it feels overwhelming. He smiled, a cautious light breaking through the uncertainty that shadowed him. You really mean that? Of course. Just like I need someone to dance in the rain with, I think you might need that, too. We can learn how to navigate our storms together. The thunder cracked again, shaking the cafe, but this time it didn't feel so threatening. Instead, it sparked a newfound determination in their bond. Sarah leaned in closer, drawn as if by an invisible force. Just know that whatever you're facing, you don't have to face it alone. Thanks, Sarah. Maybe this isn't just a flight after all. He shuffled forward slightly, their knees brushing. The proximity was electric, and Sarah felt her walls beginning to crumble. Before she could respond, the door to the cafe swung open violently as wind rushed in, bringing with it a wave of shivering cold and a gust of rain. A group of travelers stumbled in, shaking droplets off jackets and muttering about the storm. Just like that, their moment was disrupted, and the shared understanding faded into the background. Sarah could feel the tension slipping away, replaced by the chaotic buzz of the cafe. Voices rose and fell around them, but she held on to the look he gave her, one that promised stories and healing. "Hey," she said, raising her voice slightly above the din. "What about sharing our stories right now? If we're going to brave this storm, we might as well do it together." His eyes sparkled again, enthusiasm returning, though laced with apprehension. "I'd like that." Let me start just as he began to speak. The lights flickered again, and then darkness. The cafe plunged into silence, save for the howling wind and the steady rhythm of rain against the windows. Gasps filled the air, unsure laughter followed. "Looks like we're in for it now," Sarah said, her voice cutting through the unease. She felt the tension grow again, yet beneath it all lingered an electric spark. "What happens now?" he asked, the answer lingering on the edge of his lips. "I don't know," she admitted, a smile creeping onto her face despite the chaos. "But whatever it is, let us face it together." As she spoke, the darkness felt less frightening and more like an invitation. An uncharted territory they could explore side by side. But then, from amidst the shadows of uncertainty, a familiar face appeared, a barista with a steadfast demeanor, holding a flashlight. "All right, folks, let us not panic. This storm might just be what we need to ignite our stories." Sarah and her companion shared a glance, a blend of exhilaration and nervousness reflected in their eyes. In that moment, something new took shape in the air between them, vibrating with possibility. What stories would emerge from this unexpected darkness? Would they each uncover something not only about each other, but also about themselves? The flashlight beam danced across the cafe, illuminating startled faces and tense expressions. Sarah felt the flicker of excitement rush back as the barista continued, a smile breaking through the gloom. "There's nothing like a storm to bring out the best in all of us. How about we share some stories while we wait?" His words hung in the air like the smell of fresh coffee wafting through the clouds. The nervous energy in the room began to shift. People leaned in closer, seeking comfort and shared experience. Sarah glanced at her companion, his brows slightly relaxed, as if the idea of storytelling lit a spark. "Do you want to go first?" she asked gently, trying to encourage him. He shifted in his seat, a slight blush creeping up his neck as he took a moment to gather himself. "Sure," he finally said, voice steadier than before. "I guess I should start with the storm that hit me most, the one that took my brother." Her heart clenched at his words, instinctively reaching for his hand across the table, the warmth of her touch a silent support. It was a car accident. He was on his way home one night, and well, he didn't make it. He paused, dark clouds seen in the depths of his eyes. "For the longest time, I stayed angry. Angry at the world, at the situation. I thought shutting myself off would save me from getting hurt again if I let someone in." Tears pricked at the corners of Sarah's eyes. "I'm so sorry. I can't even imagine the weight of carrying that alone." He nodded slowly. "It felt like a storm I couldn't escape. And then one day, I just realized it wasn't about forgetting him. It was about learning to live with that loss, to make it a part of me, but not the whole of me." "Wow," she breathed out. "That's beautiful and brave." An unexpected quiet fell over the cafe. Travelers who had rushed in from the rain were hanging onto his words as if they were a lifebuoy. Emboldened by the moment, Sarah felt the need to share her own chaos. "You know, I've had my storms, too. When I lost my dad, everything changed. I was young, and his absence felt like standing under a perpetual downpour, cold and alone. I tried to fill that void with relationships, but it only made things harder." "Did you ever figure out how to navigate that?" he asked, sincerity washing over his features. "Eventually. I learned to honor him by living fully, finding joy in the small things like rainy days where I can stomp in puddles, or chatting with strangers in a cafe during a storm." She chuckled, realizing the absurdity of her own metaphor. "It's like I've inherited this strange appreciation for chaos." As she said it, the power flickered back on. A warm light flooded the cafe. People laughed and cheered, their relief palpable. But Sarah noticed her focus remained on her companion. His eyes sparkled with a mix of admiration and something deeper. The barista called out, "Okay, who's next? Let us keep sharing till the storm passes." But it wasn't he the cafe now that had her captivated. It was the way he leaned in closer, the way their stories intertwined, creating a bridge over the storms they both had faced. "What about you?" Sarah nudged. "What do you want to do with that experience now?" He hesitated, contemplating her question, and in that fleeting moment, she could see something new brewing behind his hesitation, a mixture of hope and fear. Suddenly, the door swung open again, and a loud crash of thunder shook the ground. Their peaceful exchange shattered, and the tension lifted once more like the rising wind. "Let us make sure we don't lose momentum," the barista yelled as the rain began to fall harder, adapting to the ever-changing rhythm of the storm outside. What hidden truths might yet emerge in the chaos? Would they find a way to turn the storms of their past into something that could light up their future? The cafe buzzed with a mix of laughter and the soft clattering of cups. As the storm raged outside, the atmosphere within burst with shared stories and sporadic moments of connection. Sarah felt both exhilarated and nervous. The warmth from their conversation hung between her and her companion like a fragile thread, waiting to be tugged on. "Anyone else? We can't let the story stop." The barista chimed in, his energized enthusiasm balancing the darker themes that had filled the air moments before. Sarah caught the gaze of her companion. "You know, no pressure, but I think we're all waiting to hear what you have to say." He smiled softly but looked hesitant, as if weighing the openness of his heart against the lingering shadows of his past. "Okay, I will. But you all have to promise to be gentle with me," he teased lightly, scattering some tension in the room. The group chuckled, and he took a deep breath. "I grew up in a small town. My childhood was filled with the kind of messiness that feels like summer storms, full of raw energy, unpredictable, but always clearing the air afterward." He chuckled again, as if remembering those days fondly. "But then, life tossed in its own storms. There was a series of losses, just like the one I mentioned before." "What do you mean?" Sarah leaned in, the connection electrifying the air between them. He looked down for a moment, collecting thoughts that felt heavy. "It's not just my brother. It's my father too." Suddenly, it felt like a cyclone sweeping through. It left behind nothing but debris. "I learned quickly that the world can be an unfair place." Soft murmurs from nearby patrons echoed the somber weight of his words. Sarah felt her heart ache for him, wishing to cradle those memories wrapped in pain. "I spent a lot of time wallowing, feeling sorry for myself," he continued, his voice gaining strength. "But then I remembered how my dad loved to fly. He'd been a pilot, always chasing skies. On his better days, he'd take me to the airstrip, letting me feel the thrill of a plane in the sky. I realize now he would have hated seeing me drown in sorrow." The cafe felt small around them, the warmth of shared memories radiating like sunshine through dark clouds. "How did you find your way back?" she asked, captivated by his journey. He ran a hand through his hair, visibly lighter. "I took to the skies as well. I found my father in the wind, on ventures I took to honor him. Now I fly as often as I can. It's where I feel free, where the storm inside me quiets." With the sound of rain hammering against the windows, a hush fell over the crowd. It felt like they were suspended in time, savoring his story, a shared pilgrimage through grief that turned into resilience. "What an incredible way to transform pain into something beautiful," Sarah whispered, her eyes glistening. "It's like you're defying the storms completely." He grinned, a true smile that reached his eyes. "Exactly. That's what I hope to inspire in others too. To not let storms define their journey, but to rise above them." Suddenly, a flash of lightning illuminated the cafe, making the space electric. People gasped in unison, the collective heartbeat of the cafe synchronizing to the chaos outside. As people murmured and shared their own anecdotes about fear and resilience, Sarah felt a rush of hope. Stories had a way of lifting burdens, didn't they? Perhaps sharing was a key to surviving the storms of life. "Maybe we all have our own wings to spread," she said quietly, and her words hung in the air, alive with possibility. He clasped his hands on the table, a warmth spreading through their connection that felt solid. "Let us find a way to help each other fly." As the cafe buzzed with a newfound energy and creativity, Sarah looked out the window at the darkened sky. Could they really sort through their past storms together? "Shall we map our journeys?" he proposed, a spark of adventure igniting in his eyes. What new truths could the storm lead them to discover? Would they embrace a future that was more than just surviving? The cafe hummed with life, stories weaving a tapestry of resilience that transformed the darkness outside into a kaleidoscope of hope. Lightning flickered, illuminating Sarah's face, and she felt a growing excitement between her and the man sitting across from her. Mapping our journeys sounds amazing, she said, buoyed by the spark of connection that had blossomed. We could create something beautiful from all the chaos we've faced. He nodded enthusiastically, leaning in closer. Yes, it's like we're pilots building our own flight paths, right? Every storm leads us to higher grounds. The warmth of his gaze made her heart flutter. Exactly. It's like every storm teaches us to rise above no matter how turbulent the skies might be. They both shared a smile, and in that moment, the uncertainties of the world faded. The storms outside only echoed the tempest inside her: fear, hope, and the thrill of potential coiling together. I've learned that storms can be beautiful too, he said, his voice steady. I find solace in knowing that rain nurtures new growth. It's all about perspective. That is such a great way to look at it, Sarah replied, her mind flooded with memories of her childhood. My parents used to say that every storm clears the air for something new to blossom. He reached for her hand, a gentle touch that sent electricity racing through her. Let us promise to embrace our storms together no matter what challenges lie ahead. Their hands clasped together, an anchor amid the chaos, as laughter and stories filled the cafe around them. Travelers shared snippets of courage. An elderly woman recounted her leap of faith into a new career, while a young couple spoke of love found in unexpected places during their struggles. As each tale unfolded, the atmosphere thrummed with life. Sarah found herself overwhelmed with gratitude. They were all interconnected, drawing light from the darkness that had once threatened to consume them. Every experience, you, me, this cafe full of people, it's like we're all part of an unbreakable chain, she said, feeling the weight of it all, bound by our courage and growth. I love that, he replied, his eyes shining with admiration. We can inspire each other to keep flying higher. Just then, another thunderous clap reverberated, bringing laughter and shared gasps below it. The barista chimed in again. Come on, folks. Let us keep sharing. How about we hear your most memorable flights? Let us do it, Sarah said, her heart racing with determination. His smile widened. Do you want to kick us off? Sure. She stood up, turning to address the crowd, a newfound confidence pouring from her. I want to share about my first solo flight. It was terrifying, exhilarating, a complete storm of emotions. As she spoke, they swayed between fear and laughter, her stories entwining seamlessly with those of others, creating a symphony of resilience that echoed off the cafe walls. With each word, the darkness outside seemed to shrink, turning to light, warmth, and connection. Sarah felt a wave of happiness wash over her, a realization that she was no longer alone in her journey. She was surrounded by friends, strangers now, each person a testament to the power of community. After her story, directly inspired by the lives around her, he stood up next, with her unwavering gaze cheering him on. I once flew through a literal storm, he started, his voice strong. I thought I wouldn't make it out, but I learned to trust the air, the instruments, every piece of equipment there to support me. And the people. A voice chanted from the crowd, prompting laughter that rippled through the room. He smiled, buoyed by the encouragement. Exactly. We're all instruments in each other's lives, helping one another through the storms. I think that connects us all deeply. As he concluded, applause erupted, in waves, rivaling the sound of rain pouring outside. Sarah's heart brimmed with pride, not just for him, but for each person in the cafe. Just then, as if cued by fate, the lights flickered again, flashing brighter, illuminating the joy, worries, and dreams breathlessly shared. Looks like our storm has passed, he joked, their laughter mingling seamlessly now. The barista took center stage. All right, everyone, I think after all that, it's time for a toast. Raise your cups, whether they're filled with coffee, tea, or something stronger, and let us celebrate our stories, our journeys, together. A collective cheer erupted. Sarah's spirit soared as she joined in the clinking of cups. She felt light with hope, bonding anew with people who had once just been travelers passing through their lives, now tangled beautifully together. As they toasted, she caught his gaze, and in that simple instant, time stood still. Thank you for pushing me to share, he said softly. Today has changed everything for me. You've changed everything for me, too, she replied, the sincerity of her words sparkling between them. With the storm outside retreating, Sarah felt the storm inside her settling into something gentler and eagerness to see how this new path might unfold. Would they navigate future storms together, mapping their journeys side by side? And without hesitation, she squeezed his hand, a promise made beneath lights glowing bright. They would embrace whatever life had to offer together. As the lively chatter and laughter filled the cafe, Sarah knew that both of them had transformed amidst chaos, finding strength in vulnerability and hope woven through shared stories. This journey was only the beginning, and she couldn't wait to see where the winds would take them next. But it wasn't just her story, or his. It was a beautiful tapestry created by them all. Imagine the possibilities that awaited in the skies, in love, in life. And then, before any new chapter could begin, she felt the gentle pull to connect further, to keep holding on to the thread that always linked them back to one another. As she took a deep breath, filled with the sense of coffee beans and fresh rain, she felt at home, a little closer to the skies they'd always dreamt of sharing. Now, as they exchanged knowing smiles amidst their newfound family, it was clear no matter what storm they faced, they would face it together. As the cafe transformed into a realm of possibility, she knew without a doubt this wasn't just a flight. It was the beginning of a lasting journey, one filled with hope, connection, and endless adventure ahead. So hold on tight and never stop sharing. And remember, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait, not even one more second, to join our community. Hit that button and dive into more incredible stories. Leave a like now to help feed the algorithm, so we can keep spreading these messages of hope. Comment below with what this ending meant for you, your thoughts and emotions. We want to hear them. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to feel this transformation too. This is the moment to show your support, and every action helps us soar higher together.